Greeting coders. In today's video, we're going to teach you not only how to create a list, how to add to the back of a list, but how to add to the middle of the list and how to remove items from the list. Okay, so when we last left off, we kind of were working on an interface where we were kind of making a waiting list and an actual user app. But for simplicity's sake, for today, we're just going to make a text-based app so that you understand the commands. So it's going to go to create, and when I go to App Lab, okay. So we started fresh. Let's go ahead and create a waiting list similar to the one that we had on the other exercise. So how do you create a list? You make a variable, var, you name the variable, in this case, waiting list, and you could create a empty list or you can decide to create lists with things that are already in it. So let me teach you how to create an empty list real quick. So to create an empty list, you just put a double bracket, left bracket and a right bracket, and a semicolon. That's it. So if you were to console log this, let's go ahead and console log this. Um, Console log the waiting list, you will see that it has nothing inside. Just go ahead and hit run. And you can see here that there is nothing in this list. It's just two empty braces and nothing inside it. So let's go ahead and actually add stuff to the waiting list. So since I already created it, I'm just going to go ahead and populate it. So I'm just going to go waiting list equals, and let's go ahead and add three names to the list similar to our other exercise. So we have, let's say Bob, and let's say we have Abby. And lastly, we will have Caitlin. Okay, so let's go ahead and console log this. So I'm just actually going to copy and paste. There's no point in repeating work here. Copy and paste line 2 back over here. And let's just run our program and see if we have now a list with three names on it, Bob, Abby, and Caitlin. Now remember in code.org, you can click the debug console and click on this drop-down menu and see what position they're in. So good reminder, arrays are zero-based index, meaning that the first one in the array is always going to be 0. So Bob is in the 0th position, Abby's in the 1st position, and Caitlin is in the 2nd position. Now, I don't mean it as like first. I should say the number 1 position, because technically Bob is the first person on the list. So Abby is technically in position 1, but not the first position. Okay, let's make sure we get that straight. Abby is in position 1, Bob is in position 0, and Caitlin is in position 2. Okay. So when we last left off, let's go ahead and review what we did last time. We learned a command called, before we do that, we learned a command called length. So let's go ahead and do that. So console log waiting list dot length. This property gives us the value of how many people are on the list. Let's go ahead and reset and run. And you can see this number 3 here. Well, that's coming from this the waiting list dot length. So there are 3 people currently on our list. So let's go ahead and just add some formatting real quickly. Let's go ahead and just put in a pair of double quotes and a plus sign. And just for format reasons, let's say length of list. And let's put a little semicolon here, a little space, give it a little format so that we can see it a little bit easier. So length of list is 3. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and review what we did again on Thursday and on Friday. And we used a command called waiting list dot push. So whatever the name of your list is, dot push, pushes a name to the back. So let's go ahead and push on Diego to the back of the line. Okay. Let's go ahead, reset, hit run. Oh yeah. And let's go ahead and copy and paste these 2 lines right here, down here, so that we can actually see it. Hit reset and hit run. And you can see that our list originally of Bob, Abby, and Caitlin is now Bob, Abby, Caitlin, and Diego. And now the length of the list is now 4. Okay, so we add Diego to the back. Well, dot push is a command that works on all arrays inside of JavaScript. So this will work if you're using JavaScript by itself or you're using it in conjunction with HTML. But there are other commands that will also work on code.org only. And let me show you what that is. Okay. So let's go ahead and go to variable in the toolbox here under variables. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see these commands, okay, that are specific. Some of them are specific to code.org. So let me show you which ones are specific to code.org. So length and join are not specific to code.org, but you can see insert item, append item, and remove item are commands created by code.org to make your life a little bit easier. So instead of using .push, we can use append. Let's go ahead and view what it says. Append the item to the end of the array. So let's go ahead and test it out. Let's go ahead and drag and append here to line 12. And we don't have a list. We have something called a waiting list. So let's go ahead and change the name of this. And append is similar to push, but it just uses a different format and it's specific to code.org. So let's go ahead and append Francisco. Okay. So, and let's go ahead and copy and paste again line 9 and 10 so that we can track and see if append item actually adds Francisco to the back of the waiting list. And you can see here in our debug console, our list grew from 4 to 5. It still had Bob, Abby, Caitlin, Diego, and Francisco. And again, you can always click on the drop-down menu and see Francisco is in spot number 4. Okay. All right. So append item and push again are equivalent. Dot push is generic to all of JavaScript. Append item is a command created by code.org to make your life easier and inside your toolbox. So again, you're welcome to use both. But again, if you ever want to use it in HTML, dot push is the more universal way. All right, so let's go ahead and teach you something else. So I've been teaching you how to add to the back of a list. So let's say a very important person, VIP, comes in and we want him to be able to jump to the front of the list, or someone that has a reservation. Okay, so he gets to jump to the front of the list. Well, how can we do that? Well, there's a command right here called insert item. So let's go ahead and use insert item here. And insert item says the first argument is the list. The second argument is where you want to insert the item based on the position. And the third parameter or third argument is what do you want me to insert into the list? So let's go ahead and try it. So let's go ahead and change list to waiting list because we don't have a list. We have a waiting list variable. And let's insert someone in position 2. Or let's actually go to the front of the line. So if you look at, again, Bob is in position 0. So let's go ahead and use 0. So we're going to have someone cut in front of Bob and be the first person in line. So let's go ahead and do, I don't know, I'm on E. Let's go Enrique. And let's copy and paste line 13 and 14. Go ahead, reset and hit run. And you can see now that Enrique is now in the front of the line and Bob, Abby, Caitlin, Diego, and Francisco all got pushed back. Let's go ahead and look at the drop-down list here. So yes, Bob was originally in position 0, and now Bob got pushed to 1. Abby was in position 1, now she's position 2, so on and so forth. So now our list grew up 1, and everybody got pushed 1 spot back. Now this has also worked in the middle of the list. Let's go ahead and try that. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this, and let's put someone in the middle. So say someone has a reservation, but they came late. So we don't want them to cut in front of people that have been waiting too long, but somewhere in the middle that of people who didn't have reservations. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this, and let's go ahead and push someone to the middle. So let's go in like position 4. So position 4, based on this list, is in front of Diego and Francisco. So whoever we write here will get to cut in front of Diego and Francisco, but everyone else stays in the same position. So let's go ahead and let's see, I'm on E, F, G. Let's go Gerardo. So I'm going to copy and paste. And now we should have Gerardo jumping in front of Diego and Francisco into position 4. Let's go ahead and reset and hit run. And there we have it. So Caitlin, Diego, Francisco. Now we have Caitlin, Gerardo, Diego, Francisco. And Gerardo now jumps in the middle of the list in position 4. Okay, so let's go ahead and teach you guys how to remove people from the list. So if this is a waiting line, right? Obviously, if this is a waiting list, eventually we're going to serve the people at the front of the line. So let's go ahead and remove Enrique. So we have this command here inside of your toolbox called remove item. So we're going to drag it over, and instead of list, we're going to have waiting list and waiting list 0. So the second argument is the index. Where do you want me to remove from the waiting list? So this is the list. This is what item you want me to remove. So if we want to remove Enrique from the front of the list, he's at position 0. So we're going to remove the item at position 0. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a console log up and copy and paste this. Again, I'm trying to repeat work here. Copy and paste this. And now we're going to remove the first person in line. Let's go ahead and reset and hit run, and let's see if it works. So we went from a list of 7 to a list of 6, and Enrique has now been seated, and now we have Bob, AB, Caitlin, Gerardo, Diego, and Francisco. Okay, so this works for anybody. And let's say someone from the middle of the list, kind of no longer wants to wait, and he was actually polite enough to remove himself off the list, so people really have an accurate understanding of how long they are. We can do that as well. We can go ahead and just copy and paste this and just change 0 into, let's see, so we have Bob, Abby, Caitlin. Let's say Gerardo, or let's say Diego got really tired of waiting. Gerardo cut in front of him because he had reservations. Diego's angry. He says, okay, I'm out of here. He's at position 4. Let's go ahead and change this 0 to a 4. And let's see if we were able to remove Diego off our list. So we have Bob, Abby, Caitlin, Gerardo, and Francisco. Diego got tired of waiting. He removed himself from the list, and that's it. And one more thing. So I taught you how to remove someone from the front of the list. We taught you how to remove someone from the middle of the list. What if we want to remove the last person on the list? Okay. Well, we could just look at the number and say, okay, well, who's the last on the list? Oh, Francisco. What position is he in? Let's go and hit the drop down menu. I could say, hey, let's remove Francisco. He's in position 4. So I could do this again, and I would be able to delete Francisco off the list. However, when you guys are creating lists, you're never quite sure at any given time what position is the last person. So you should use something beyond a static number, a hard number like 4. What if the list is only 3? What if the list is only 2? Removing index number 4, position number 4, won't remove the last person. So instead, use waiting list dot length. That number changes based on the position of, or the length of the list. So in this case, the length of the list is 5, and Francisco is in position 4. So this won't work. We have to go one less than the length because, again, arrays are 0 indexed. Okay, they always start at 0. So length, if the last number is position is 4 on the list, the length is 5. So we always, when we're trying to remove an item, we want to remove the length minus 1. So we're going to do length minus 1. And now this will always remove the last person on any list. So let's go ahead and hit reset and hit run. And you can see I was able to remove Francisco from the list and now only have Gerardo as the last person on the list. Okay. And this, again, this always works with removing the last person on the list. Okay. So I know it's a lot of code, but it's actually not of very difficult because we're just copying and pasting. But go ahead and take a screenshot of this program. Just go ahead and lower down your debug window so I can see all your code. It should be able to fit on one screen, I hope. If you just go ahead and control using control minus, okay, or control plus, control minus and control plus, you could decrease the size of your screen up and down. Okay, so or you can just go to here, and kind of shrink your window using the zoom and zoom in and zoom out. Okay, so again, get all your code on one page, and show me a little bit of your debug console. Go ahead and take a screenshot and send it to me. Okay, and I'll see you guys tomorrow when we go back to using the actual app design and actually try to implement some of this stuff in phases. Okay, I'll see you guys.